Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on one-year MBA program on digital enterprise management offered by IIM Udaipur. My name is Rajesh Agarwal, and I am the chairman of the programs committee in the digital enterprise management program. And I'm happy to mention that I'm joined by Professor Janat Shah, who is the director of IIM Udaipur, as well as I'm joined by Mr. Shekhar, who is in charge of the Center for Digital Enterprise. I shall be making a brief presentation of around 10 to 12 minutes, and this will be followed by a question and answer session. If you have any question while I am presenting, you're more than welcome to post such questions on the Q&A section. And you're also welcome to post your questions after the presentation is over. After the presentation is over, I will hand over the moderation of the rest of the presentation to Mr. Shekhar. So I am very happy to mention that IIM Udaipur is ranked among the Financial Times 2019 ranking of top 100 Masters in Management program in the world. It is the youngest institute in the world to feature in such a ranking. And as you can see, that there are only 5 IIMs from India who feature in this ranking, and IIM Udaipur is one of them. In addition to this prestigious ranking, IIM Udaipur is also ranked in the prestigious QS World University Ranking 2020. On top of these 2 prestigious international rankings, we are also the fastest management institute to get accredited by AACSB. What it tells us is that we are taking the issue of learning and teaching and quality delivery of program in whatever we do. The program on digital enterprise management, we believe, is one of its kind program. And let me briefly tell a little bit more about it. Both the way we do the business and the businesses we do have fundamentally changed over the past few years. Wave of technology has fueled lots of disruptions around us, and they're happening at an unprecedented scale. While those who get negatively affected by it may lament about it, but also positively affects businesses and industries and creates opportunities for many. And here is an opportunity for everybody, including you. The question is, how do you take advantage of this digital world? How do you capitalize on this? How do you leverage this? We believe this one-year MBA program offered by IIM Udaipur is a unique one, where not only you get to understand the concepts in management, but you understand them in the context of the digital world. And that's what makes it a unique program. It's a one-year MBA program that gives you a management in business administration degree. It's a full-time residential program on campus. And in the selection criteria, apart from other things, it includes you writing a GMAT or a GRE followed by personal interview. The student profile is that you have to be a graduate with a minimum of 3 years of experience. It's important to highlight that while all engineers are welcome to apply, but we are not necessarily looking at graduates in any particular discipline. Anybody with a graduate degree with interest in digital world and digital businesses is welcome to apply for this program. The program commences in April 2020. Now, let me briefly tell you about the course structure of the program. So, first of all, in the program, we introduce you to the fundamentals of business management. Then we move on and discuss in the class the concepts that are applied to the digital organization, focusing on emerging concepts, practices, and methods. And then we introduce the concept of data and technology, because that is at the heart of digital. When we say something is digital, we are talking about data and technology. The participants will start appreciating the role and the relevance of these in the digital world and how technologies are involved in creating, managing, and analyzing data. It's important to understand how digital can make a difference in the way businesses run. We will understand the implication and the application of digital in a variety of industry verticals such as retail, fintech, manufacturing, and the others. And you'd appreciate that it's very important for all of you to get a hands-on experience of how it's like to work in the digital context by doing projects and simulation, where you will be able to assimilate these concepts that you've learned thus far comprehensively and holistically. So this is how the entire program has been designed, keeping all the aspects of management and digital in mind. So in the previous slide, I talked about the 5 different areas of business management and with respect to data and technology. Here you can get to see different courses that are offered under each of these pillars. So just to give you a visual presentation about the courses that are involved here. I'm very happy to say that because we've taken this design of this program extremely seriously, we have an advisory board consisting of very competent and senior industry professionals, including some CEOs who are constantly guiding us on the design of the curriculum that should go in the program. What we're trying to achieve here is that we want to bring to the classroom the real life problems, challenges, issues that are faced by organizations that have anything to do with the digital world, so that the classroom learning, discussion, is become that much more richer. As you can see, that the advisory board consists of very senior professionals from management consulting, from companies such as Accenture and Deloitte, from the consumer companies such as Star TV and Kimberly-Clark. From technology space, we have senior person from IBM, and from startups or the platform players, we have very senior and CEOs of the organization like Quikr, Infosys, and Flipkart. And from academics, we have the Dean of IIM Udaipur represented on the advisory board, and also a member of IIM Udaipur governing board represented on the advisory board. And this is going to tell you that we take this design of the program and the delivery of the program very seriously. Let me now move on and talk about the collaboration of the academia, that is IIM Udaipur, and the industry, and how it has helped in the design of the program. First of all, such a collaboration has helped us in knowledge sharing. So this has given us the opportunity for the faculty members to be able to go to the industry and write cases related to digital, understand the innovations that are taking place, understand the new methods that are adopted by such businesses. And then together with the industry, we are co-creating knowledge that we can bring to the classroom, as well as publish research papers in prestigious journals. Such a collaboration with industry is also extremely helpful for us in the area of doing student projects. Industry professionals can help the students mentor and guide, and as well as, last but not the least, such a collaboration is also extremely helpful in the campus placement. So what I'm trying to put across here is that we have taken the collaboration with industry right from the design to execution to delivery of the program, so that the program is absolutely relevant to the needs of the digital world. Now let me share with you briefly what do we mean by the students project. These projects will basically help the participants understand how to use data and technology, how such an exposure can help you in the managerial decision making. The lab projects will give students an experiential learning of management skills in the context of digital technologies. In addition to lab projects, we also have projects in the area of analytics, and we have projects in the area of technology. While the projects in analytics will help you understand how to deal with complex data, voluminous data, how to make sense of it, how to interpret them, as I said, with the focus of making useful and high quality managerial decisions. Likewise, the projects in technology will also do something similar. When we talk about students' projects in the area of analytics, there could be a variety of them that you could do. For example, such projects could be consumer facing, product facing, or a combination of both. Let me give a small example here. In the past, a sample size of say 30 of 100 was good enough to make inferences. Now we are talking about the opportunity of exploiting the available data of say 1 million data points. The question is, how can we leverage such large number of data points, which are complex and voluminous in nature, to make meaningful inferences, understand different patterns that emerge, and how can businesses take advantage of them in improving their decision making. When it comes to projects in the area of technology application, we are talking about the intersection of technology, industry, and processes. As I mentioned a while ago, that one could be working in a variety of different industries. And within each of the industry, we are talking about various functions that are involved. Now, the question is, how can we leverage high quality technology such as AI or Internet of Things or blockchain to be able to help us in these processes and improve decision making? So these projects will basically test the students' ability to work with technology and understand the impact on business performance, people, etc. Let me talk about a sample technology project that one could be doing. One could perhaps be doing how artificial intelligence, which is a technology, can be used in banking, which is an industry, for loan processing. How can the entire loan processing be improved? Take another example. How can blockchain, which is again a technology, in manufacturing, which is a vertical, industry vertical, for traceability of procurement process? So likewise, there could be a variety of many more of these projects. Here is the sample job description of a company. We have masked the name of the company because it's a real life example, just to tell you the increasing demand in the field of digital. So typically, after you finish this program, what kind of roles can you expect to get? It could be perhaps the product manager or a business analyst, a program manager, or a business consultant. So in summary, we would like to present that here is a unique opportunity for you to join this program, which has been designed in conjunction with the industry. It's first of its kind that you can think of in the country. And this will enable you for strategic thinking and execution in the digital context. This program is on the campus. We'll have opportunities to learn from peers. And as I mentioned a little while ago, that IIM Udaipur has all the great credentials that I talked about in terms of the accreditation. I would encourage all of you to go through the program's offering in detail and decide and think about it carefully. But we think here is an opportunity for you to get involved in life-changing experience. I thank you for your patience. Now, I request you to post your questions in the Q&A section, and I would request Mr. Shekhar to take over the moderation for the rest of the session.
Thank you very much. Am I audible to you?
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Shekhar.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Professor Rajesh. I hope the participants have got a clear perspective on what the Digital Enterprise Management course is about. I'm sure your presentation has also provoked them to think deeper and start asking questions. We are hoping that the questions come up so that we can discuss around their questions and take this conversation forward. One of the points I thought would be relevant to talk about is that the structure of this course is very unique. And this is probably the first time that an institute is attempting to look at the entire business management course from the lens of digital. And while there could be a lot of courses coming from the analytics side or something called as digital marketing, they are all point solutions or point courses, short term, enabling people to understand a course that is in the context of either marketing function or in the context of understanding data management as digital, etc. but seldom has a course offered something that takes you from the concepts of business, which means you understand economics, you understand organization and behavior, you understand operations, marketing, finance, and all aspects of planning, budgeting, etc., from a digital perspective. And that's where the significant difference starts showing up. So you need to now look at, how organizations scale up. Even traditional organizations are adopting digital, and therefore their practices are changing. And we tend to use the word disruption. It actually means that there are new processes coming in, and the new processes require new skills, and the new skills require new managerial capabilities. And that's where this course becomes very unique and very pertinent. I'm going to read a couple of questions that have come up, and these are anonymous, so there is no name given to the people asking questions. The first question is, what is max years of experience in data management field is suited for this program? I could see that minimum is 3 years of experience. I think the question should be interpreted as, what is the maximum years of experience that we would consider for admission in this program? And it needn't be on the data management side. So I'll just wait to get a confirmation if that's a proper understanding of this particular question. I will take the next question here till I get a confirmation on our understanding of the first question. It says, thank you for organizing this webinar. How much IT work experience will be helpful for this course? Professor Janat Shah, would you like to speak on this? Because it's so difficult to expect digital with IT.
So I think probably I would combine, the previous question and this. So somewhere, I think the way we look at this is having an organizational experience is useful, because we are preparing, the participants for a level of responsibility and the kind of discussion which would happen in a classroom. So the minimum experience of 3 years is what we're talking about. And we think probably ideal is between 3 to 7 to 8 years, because we feel the kind of program we are talking about is targeted at this group. And it's not the specific experience, which is either in the data science or in IT, is the organizational experience which we would value. We would like you to be passionate about the technology, but we not, we don't think that your years of experience in the technology is essential. Because finally this program looks at as a business first. We're saying business first in the environment of a technology. That's the way we're looking at it. And the way we see essentially as you can see from our advisory group, we have two of them coming from a consulting industry. So they think it's very relevant for a consulting industry, because if I go back to the way our motivations to start this program, when we were talking to industry, including consulting industry, actually the consulting industry was the main motivator for us. They said, you have a curriculum which is has hardly any component of a digital in your current curriculum. And with a result, we get this bright MBAs, and then we get, we train them for another probably 9 months to 12 months on these new technologies. And then we are able to get them in front of our client. It'll be nice if we can have, this bright people, MBAs, who understand technology from a business perspective. That's where the motivation for this program is. So I would say we look at essentially one set of roles people would be excited about is where you're in a consulting industry or you are in a IT company, system integrator kind of companies, which are trying to solve the client's problem. And the client, we are looking at essentially three kinds. One could be, essentially a digital company and you're trying to solve the digital company's problem, or you could be a traditional company and now want to work on a digital transformation. And third set of organizations are essentially startup. Either it could be in a digital space, it could be in a retail, it could be e-commerce company. Any of them, essentially, either you are within the organization working on a digital project, or it could be in a consulting or a technology company which is solving a client's problem. I know probably I was trying to handle a couple of questions which I saw on the board, but I hope this takes care of a lot of questions which were there, which you could see. Shekhar, I know, does that take care of the question, or is this something which I'm missing?
Tanushri's question was, 7 to 8 years of work experience. You answered that yes, it does matter. I mean, good experience is always welcome. 7 to 8 years is also an experience that people would take up this course and look at how their career prospects change. There is the next question which talks about, can we get management consulting jobs? The answer is yes. And the reason is much of the transformational roles are these days advised by management companies. So they also need a lot of people with the ability to understand how technology works and what kind of impact it can bring to an organization. Prasanna Thabet asked a question which is prior knowledge of any specific software required for this program. I think you mentioned that in the earlier thing, that we do not expect you to come here with a particular background or skill or expertise other than your ability to understand how an organization functions and your passion for technology, which means you're interested in understanding how technology works and how organizations are using them. And you do not carry a kind of a bias in terms of saying I'm scared or I'm not the person who can engage with technology. Because digital has a great component of technology that people would need to actually face day in and day out. That does not mean that you are a programmer or a coder or that kind of a skill is required. It's as much as what you would do with a Facebook or an Instagram interaction to something that is now more mainstream in terms of how it can change an organization's business impact. That's how it is. This is a fairly long question which I'm going to read out. I'm attending the seminar for the second time. I have a different set of questions this time, and we welcome that. I'm a software developer who has exposure to digital technologies. I have 4 years of experience in IT. Currently, I'm earning 14 lakhs per annum. I know that the course should not be considered as money-making, but this course being a new course, what are the placement perspectives? How will the placement scenario be? Is there any minimum package that IIMU will restrict the companies to hire? So this is a question on placements and what kind of compensation people get.
So, okay, so I think, as you rightly mentioned, the way we look at a management program is from your long-term career perspective. So I think somewhere the way you look at education is very different from. So I think I would hesitate to answer a question in terms of what kind of package I expect, immediately after this, because we have this advisory body in place who've been involved in the design of the program. They think this is a right program. Now you need to ask that question in terms of what kind of horizon you're looking at. If somebody is looking at a horizon of saying, I want to get a return of my investment in 1 year, honestly, I would say education programs are probably not the right program for that kind. If you're looking at a horizon, which is 3 to 4 year kind of horizon, we definitely think you would get your return on value for that, right? And ideally, any good education program should prepare you for a horizon which is slightly longer, because you are investing in your career. So from the kind of discussion which we have done with our advisory group, we are confident that, the program of this kind for somebody who is within 3 to 7 year should be able to get that return over a 3 to 4 year kind of. I don't know, does that answer your question? And let me specifically, if somebody has a postdoc. Okay, Shekhar, over to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a factor that happens at that moment. We are trying to use our past judgment to forecast into the future. How industries look at it in future, or which is next year, is something we'll have to leave it to them. But typically, as per the track record or what we understand from the industry, the kind of compensations we are looking at are definitely favorable for students to look into this program and see how the career changes that they get from being through this program, and therefore have an opportunity of earning much more. So that's how it is. Kapil wants to know if there is any fee waiver or scholarship for this program. I'm afraid right now we don't have a waiver scheme or a scholarship in the course fee. But any thoughts that Rajesh or Professor Shah you want to throw on this in terms of waivers?
So what you mentioned, Shekhar, is the right answer. We don't have any fee waivers, but participants can apply for any external bank loan or any other kind of loan, but we don't have any waivers.
And I would just add here, as you may be aware that, government wants us to be self-sufficient. So now we don't get any fund from a government. So with a result, we're not able to provide any fee waiver to our students.
And, so Pratik says, I'm from a commerce background. How relevant will this course be for me, and how will I be able to cope up with the curriculum which involves subjects on Python, AI, big data, etc.?
So, we've done this discussion with this advisory group. It was a very interesting discussion where we posed the similar questions to advisory group, and they said we would actually encourage people from a wide variety. Okay. The key question should be that, one, you should have curiosity to look at this whole range of technology, and you need to look at technology from a business perspective. But at the same time, I think there's a fair amount of data related issues. So you don't need a, huge background in terms of, but at the same time, you should be comfortable in working with data, and you should actually enjoy working with data. If you're somebody who don't like working with data, then I would discourage you to look at this program, right? But you don't require a huge background on that, but you would obviously work with a lot of data. So that's a requirement. Similarly, that whole idea that I should be excited in dealing with whole lot of unknowns, new ideas. So a lot of curiosity is required. And the way we look at future, technology is a part of life. All of you are immersed in a technology. So we're saying, can I look at technology from a business perspective? So we come back and say, it's a business first, but ability to look at a technology from a business perspective is where the focus would be.
Yeah, I think if I recall, Pratik is a chartered accountant, and if memory serves me right, more in terms of, chartered accountants and learning Python. So Rajesh, you're up there as a accountant saying how you're involved with technology in a day-to-day situation. So Pratik, to wrap it up, we are not expecting students from these courses to become experts in Python and AI and compete with these software guys. We are looking at it more in terms of how these get applied, and these are at the end of the day tools. But what we need you to understand is the concepts and how these concepts actually play an important role, say, in the financial aspects of the organization. So, for instance, how valuations of organizations happen is something that you as a chartered accountant will understand it very differently in the context of digital. So, yeah.
Can I add something here?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think the way Shekhar talked about, for example, none of you would go into role of a data scientist, okay? But you should be able to lead a team which would involve data scientists, right? So you should be able to interpret, you should be able to understand business context. You should be able to communicate, lead a team. So it's much more of a boundary spanning role, where you're dealing with the business people, you have a data science people, and you'll have a technology people. But unless you understand that what are the right questions to ask, so several times ability to ask right questions and lead the team and do this boundary spanning across this various group of people is an important skill you need to develop. And we're hoping to develop that in the program.
Yeah, that's Zama is, I think I got your name right this time, Shama Warrior. Thank you for asking your question again. So Shama says, thank you so much for the insightful webinar. Want to ask a question about admission process. Since the GMAT is mandatory, my GMAT exam is due on 31st December. And since they give official scores within 3 weeks, can we submit unofficial score, which we get on the day of the exam, to fill our application? Since Feb 15th is the last day of the third round, I do not want to lose the chance to be on the first batch of DEM. So please do suggest if I should wait for the official score till the 4th week of Jan, or can I move on with the unofficial score and submit the official score later?
So,
Rajesh?
Yeah, we'll take this. So I would encourage that you submit as soon as you have the unofficial scores, and we shall validate the same with the official scores as they come through. So don't wait till your official scores are in. I hope I'm clear. You can apply as soon as you have the unofficial scores with you.
So this is the first time where the question has been longer than the answer. So Shama, I hope the answer is crisp to you. Kunal Rajput says, first of all, I would like to thank Professor Rajesh Agarwal for giving us detailed explanation of the program and its prospects. My question is regarding the admission requirements. My overall full-time work experience is few months short of 36 months. But I undertook multiple internships in program relevant to digital technologies after graduating and before taking up my full-time assignment. I would like to request you to kindly suggest if I should apply to the program.
So thank you for your question, Kunal. So we have a mandatory requirement of a minimum 3 years of work experience, which is full-time. So as you fall short few months in that experience, we would suggest that you wait for the next time, as when you have the full 3 years experience.
Pratik Mantri is asking another question. What is the average GMAT score you're looking at? I'd probably answer this. Pratik, we are not looking at GMAT or GRE score as a cutoff or as a factor that helps us consider some applicants and reject some of them. We are looking at every application in its entirety. So your GMAT score or GRE score is one of those components that tells us the story about you to us. So that's how it is. So whatever be the score, you are still eligible to apply. It is at the end of the day how the selection committee looks at the profile and figures out, whether the profile is good for further processing or not. So this is not an elimination process. That's all I can tell you. So can we expect better job roles in hierarchy for people with 6+ years work experience is a question. I think it's an anonymous question, so probably linking it to the first one of 8 years kinds. So this is a slightly tricky question. The reason I'm saying tricky is I'm not able to get the background here. So is it better means in comparison to somebody with 3 or 4 years experience, or better than what another 6 years in the market would?
Shekhar, I'll try and attempt this question.
Yes.
If I borrow experience of what we have seen in our 1-year MBA in a supply chain, as well as our regular MBA program, what we find is if they see your experience directly relevant to the kind of role you're talking about, then they do give a credit for additional experience. But suppose you're getting in a role which is very different from the kind of experience you have, then it's not necessary they will value that experience. So I think somewhere it's your ability to convince organization that my additional years compared to, let's say, 3 to 4 years, I have a 6-year experience, and the kind of role I'm looking at, I would be able to add value because of that experience, then they definitely give you credit. But if you're looking at a role which is very different from the kind of experience you have had, it's unlikely the organization would value that experience.
Thank you. I'll take the next question. Is awarded after 2 years of curriculum. How IIMU will ensure that employers recognize the scores equivalent to regular MBA program and equivalent placement opportunity?
So, so let me just share with you a couple of things discussion which we had across IIMs. When we were looking at this idea that how do we look at 1-year MBA program, and across IIMs we have done this discussion that we should be able to design a program where if people have a minimum 3-year work experience, then roughly if you have a 700 contact hours, then we should be able to manage this within a 1 year. So there's a fair amount of thinking which has gone across all IIMs, and based on that we have done this. Second, we also have had experience of our program in a global supply chain management, which been running for more than 5 years. So we have that experience, and we have had experience of working with organizations where we are able to show that how we are using this experience of 3 years, and with a result, we are able to manage this program within a 1 year. So the way we look at it is, we don't think you're competing with a 2-year MBA. I think this is a unique program where we are saying within the digital enterprise management, the kind of roles we are talking about, unlike a 2-year MBA where we are preparing for a wide variety of roles, while here we are talking about a relatively specific, kind of roles within the digital enterprise. So it's possible that 2-year MBA will also get into some of these roles, but the whole idea of a 2-year MBA is very different, preparing them for a wide variety of roles compared to what we are talking about here. And that's the reason we think we are able to do a reasonably good job, provided you bring in some amount of work experience and you want to get into roles which are relatively specified roles here.
Thank you. Which is, will there be an overlap in the curriculum between the flagship 2-year MBA course and this program, or are they totally independent? I think you partly touched upon that, Professor Shah, in terms of saying, some going from this particular course to the 2-year. But I would like you to respond to that in terms of any overlap.
So there would be some elective courses which we think we offer it to the entire group. So these are, the obviously the pillar 1, 2, and 3 are going to be courses which are specific to digital enterprise management, right? But once you have that base in place, we think some of the courses, there will be some elective courses as well as certain industry vertical kind of courses, and some advanced specifically, you would have a courses which will throw it open to the entire group. It will be open to our 2-year MBA program will be open to 1-year digital enterprise management as well as 1-year global supply chain management. But bulk of the courses would be specific to the program.
Kavita's asking a question again is what is the expected GMAT score to apply? I think Prateek also asked this question in terms of what is the average GMAT score. Like we answered in the past, we are not looking at GMAT score in isolation and therefore using that as a measure of either letting in or not letting in. Whatever be the GMAT score, it is being looked in the perspective of your overall profile, and that matters to us. So that's how I think the GMAT role plays has a part in this particular process. So will the advisory board member companies be interested to participate in placement?
So, can I take this question, Shekhar?
Yes.
So I think the advisory board member do not represent a company. Okay. But at the same time, right? The reason why they are in this program is they have the reason why they are in this board is they see a gap essentially. And that's the reason they feel when they look at their talent, they've been talking about this gap and they think this digital will answer that question. We also have several MOU which we have signed. And when we have signed those MOUs, the talent is one of the important part we have been talking about. So we are reasonably confident that most of these companies would participate, but it is not mandatory. We think partly they've been involved in the design of this program, but finally they represent as individuals. They don't necessarily represent their companies. I don't know whether does that answer that question. But if you look at the kind of MOUs which you have signed, it should give some indication. And the fact that they have volunteered to be, if you look at the profile, for example, 2 of them are founders of, digital companies. The fact they are giving their time to this program, it somewhere communicates, both how they see this program, how they value this program.
Yeah, that's right. At the end of the day, they are not in the role of hiring from campuses. They can influence their organizations to have their HR teams come in. And in the capacity as a board member, there is no commitment that we are expecting them to actually work in the manner of hiring from this particular campus. But there is relationship. There are those interests that are coming in. They understand what is required in their organization best. And therefore, we feel that as a logical thing, those organizations will come back to the campus. How is this program different? How is this program different from an MBA IT program?
So I must admit that I'm not familiar, honestly, with this MBA IT program because none of the premier institutions I know offer this kind of program. So if you have a specific program, you send it to us, we would be happy to look at. But in our view, this is a unique program and we haven't seen similar design anywhere else. So if you have a program which you want us to look at, we would be happy to look at. But I don't have any benchmark to look at it. We don't have any benchmark to look at it. Actually, that's the reason advisory committee has spent fair amount of time, and we have spent fair amount of time talking to whole range of companies. So we think it's much more industry-led initiative because we didn't see anything of this kind actually in any of the program when we looked at globally. I'm not just talking about India, but I'm talking about globally. We looked at program. There have been programs in the analytics, but we haven't seen a program in the digital enterprise space. and we look at analytics as one important pillar, but not the way we see digital is much beyond the analytics.
Yes, thank you for that. So there's again a long question, all anonymous. So I actually have two questions. I come from a slightly different background in the arts, and I do have a passion and interest in digital agencies in the space. I was wondering whether my background may put me at a disadvantage in my application process. Secondly, in the application process, there is a section regarding video submission, and I was wondering if you could shed light on what is being looked at from the video submission. So
Go ahead.
A profile from this background. I would like you to answer, but I would like to give a little context that many times I've been beaten on my knuckles saying that how is that you don't have anybody from arts background who is applying to this kind of a program. So here is a little story that I would like you to respond to, and would be good to.
So it's interesting. So for example, this is a, honestly, I think we're all worried about this current composition in our most of the MBA program. I think this whole idea that there are too many probably people with engineer background. Okay. I think, for example, if you go and ask anybody in terms of the way you would look at digital transformation, first thing they will tell you is you need to bring in some design thinking. Okay. Because you need to start looking at from a user perspective. And we think, this diversity in a group is a very essential part, right? So we think somebody with an art background will bring in a lot to the program, right? Now, what I'm happy about when I see in your question, say you have a passion for technology. So to us, two things are very important. One is the passion for our technology, ability to, question things. The curiosity is important. Again, just one more element, the numbers are important. In a business, whenever you look at a business, there's a financial statement, ability to analyze from our numbers. So we don't do, differentiation and integrations. We're not looking at that kind of, but just, ability to look at issues from a numerical perspective. So looking at data, numbers is important, but background in terms of arts per se actually would be interesting to bring in the program.
Yes, indeed. The second part of the question is about the video profile. I would link it back to the first one. So one of the important aspects that the industry looks at in a candidate coming out of this program is communication skills. So in one of the pillars where we are talking about data, we're also talking about a skill called as storytelling. Now that's an important aspect in the learning that is there. We want all students to actually look at numbers and go beyond and start interpreting that and communicate what these numbers mean. So we see the role of communication to be an important aspect, which unfortunately in the traditional way of application form filling does not come out clearly. That's why we've asked for the video, a 2-minute kind of a clip about yourself for us to know how you communicate and what is that you actually like to do. So that's the purpose it serves for us. I hope.
Shekhar, I'll just add here.
Yeah.
So there'll be an important component on our communication within the program, oral communication. But somewhere we do want to signal that I think communication is important. We will help you in the program, right? But somewhere we want to signal that communication is going to be an important part of the program. And as Shekhar said, finally, you need to communicate your ideas within your team as well as to a client, which could be within a firm or could be external to the organization.
So the next question is, as IIM Udaipur is reputed in research, will there be any opportunities for me to participate in any ongoing research on campus?
So I would say, this program is essentially preparing for a world of practice. Okay. So, but the opportunities are always there to interact with the faculty, but that initiative you will have to take. It's an academic institution which is an open environment. Anybody can approach any faculty, but my own concern is 1-year program is fairly tight program. Okay, so it's going to place huge demands on your time. So if you take an initiative, as an institute, we are an academic institution and faculty would be happy. But my concern is, given the demands on this program, I'm afraid you may not have that kind of time. But suppose you want to look at something from your own venture perspective, that I want to start some new idea, and as a part of it, I'm looking at research, maybe, that opportunity would be there. But be careful in terms of kind of demands the program is going to place on you.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's another question which I think is a repeat about the role of advisory member in participating in placement. We've already answered this, so I'm taking that off. Is the initial deposit of 1 lakh refundable in case one declines offer before the commencement of the program?
The deposit of 1 lakh is a non-refundable deposit. And even if you decline the offer before the commencement of the program, we will not be in a position to refund it.
Thank you. So Ashish, no, there's another anonymous question. I have a management consulting experience, but not in digital technology. Will it be valued for jobs in management consulting sector in digital? Yes, indeed. So I think Professor Shah had mentioned about earlier experience coming in and how you present that to your capabilities. So the program is not demanding a particular kind of experience and then going through this program for a placement. Any sort of experience is important, and at the end of it, how you interact and bring that up in the interview session, that matters a lot. So
Shekhar, let me add something here.
Yeah.
The way we look at this program, because you come with the experience, we would help individual in terms of how do you tie up your background experience, the program, and the kind of projects you've done. So we would help you in how do you put that story together. But finally, it's you who need to build that case in front of organization, especially if you have a substantial experience.
Yes. So Ashish Kumar Rath has a long question. Sorry, I missed the initial part of the webinar due to my office timings. I am in a different time zone. Apologies if this has already been covered in the webinar. I wanted to understand the placement opportunities. As I've seen, the MOU has been signed with some of the industry experts in digital transformation. Will the MOU help in placement opportunity of this program? I have heard the educational standards are phenomenal in IIM Udaipur, but as this is the first batch of the program, I wanted to get a deep understanding of the placement opportunities.
So to some extent, I think interestingly, we are a young institution and we have done this similar thing, for example, when we had a first batch of our 2-year MBA, right? This was a 2011 to 13 and we gone to that experience. Similarly, when we launched the, global supply chain program. So I think obviously when you start a new program, there is experimentation, right? All you can say is you need to look at our track record in terms of how we have managed to, come up, lot of this ranking Professor Agarwal talked about, somewhere gives you the way industry has started looking at it. But, finally, all of us will have to work together with any new program. We think digital is the future. And if digital is the future, you talk to any organizations today, they all of them keep talking about the digital being a future and the looking at our talent from that perspective. I think it's going to be our job to convince collectively organization that this program and you as an individual are the right people. And I think we're going to work together on this. So somewhere, if you're a type, so let me say in future in general, right? I think forget your first job. Nobody can tell you what's future is going to be 5 years from now. So I think adaptability for a future is a very important part. So in that sense, whether you like it or not, the future is going to be uncertain. So all we are saying is when you're dealing with so uncertain future, if you're picking up a right skill, I'm sure the outcome will happen. But if somebody is looking for a guaranteed outcome, honestly, I would say you should not come to the program, because then you're not type who are actually willing to look at the way future is going to pan out for all of us. I think there is a whole, excitement to be part of something unique. And the whole idea is we would like to be set of people who are excited to be part of this journey. If you're kind, who are looking for a guaranteed outcomes, I would probably discourage you to come to this program, right? Because this is for a people who want to do something which is very interesting, something which is going to be futuristic. We as an institute are putting huge amount of our, commitment to this program. So somewhere, we want a people who also want to be part of this journey, because as a pioneer to this program, you need to bring a lot of excitement to this program. And the way we are looking at this, we want to make this happen, right? So, you're welcome to be part of this journey as a pioneer, but if you want to be really in very safe waters, maybe this is not the right program for you.
So we're short on time, so there are a couple of questions which I'll try and combine. One of the questions says, I have 2.5 years of work experience, but very strong on passion. Can I apply and I'm not looking for placement because I'll go back to my existing organization. Unfortunately, our selection process does not allow for anything less than 36 months of full-time work experience. So we may not be able to entertain you in this year, but definitely next year, this program becomes relevant for you. Is switching from technical manufacturing background to management consulting possible after getting knowledge from this program? The quick answer is yes, you can, because the management program is broad-based and people from different walks of life get into this course and get into different kinds of engagement. So at a broader perspective, I would answer this, yes, it is possible. But if Professor Shah, you have something specific to mention.
So I mean, I would just share the experience of, since, obviously digital enterprise is a new program, but when we look at our global supply chain program, we would be happy to, though it's not a directly relevant, but we'd be happy to connect to somebody who came with a similar background, and he may be able to help you answer at a broader level. And we have seen those transformation happening where you come with a very, technical role, right? But the way we look at is that 3-year experience gives you understanding of an organization, right? And best is when you're able to relate your experience in a very abstract way to larger organizational issues. And whether you're looking at a marketing function, whether you're looking at finance kind of organized or operations, we feel that experience of organization is useful, right? And some places you may not be able to use your experience in a direct way at all, right? But it's a broader experience is what we're talking about of organization.
Sure. Rajesh, I think the question is, can someone apply for both SCM and DEM program this year?
Yes, absolutely. A person can apply in both the programs.
So there are 2 applications, correct? For one for each?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's there. And the other one is how much IIM Udaipur's infrastructure will be helpful for this course? What instruments, tools would we get for this course?
So, this is a question which we are asking to digital, our advisory group. the kind of answers we are getting is that today most of the tools so initially we had talked about idea of creating certain labs, but the answer we are getting from our advisory group is today bulk of the tools you should be able to keep on a cloud. So with a result, we're not talking about a lab in a physical sense. We're talking about ensuring that you would have a necessary tools available to build a prototype. Either we're talking about any of the new technology which are related to AI, blockchain, or any of the analytics. So we're saying all the necessary tools will be there. We would have all the necessary tools, but it's not in a physical form. We'll be able to use all the tools which are kept in a cloud, and we'll provide necessary support, which if I'm not familiar with any particular tool, there'll be a support which will help you being familiarized. So combination of material which is available on a open platform, as well as certain support which will be provided from an institute to help you get started on any of the tool which you're talking about. Some will be done as a part of a curriculum. Some we will expect you to pick up on your own with the support which we talked about.
Thank you. That also answers Kapil Lad's question in terms of digital innovation lab. So there are labs which are physical, but these days it's everything on the cloud. So the access to technology and tools are something that industry participates in this particular program. There's another question on future jobs, which is future job profiles after the program will be focused on something like technology consulting. I think I would like to start answering that.
Sure,
digital is a space where data is important, and sometimes technology may be providing that data. Many times it may be a data that's coming from other forms of interactions in technology. So digital that way is not restricted to technology. At the same time, consulting can also be at a strategic level as well as a tactical level. So it goes beyond the realm of technology alone. Professor Shah, would you want to add anything to that?
No, so I think I don't think we are preparing people as a technology consulting.
Yeah,
we are preparing for a business consulting with the use of technology.
yes.
You're not a technology specialist. There are going to be technology specialists, and they will have a role. But we are not in that space. We are a business consulting with in use of technology. So I want to make sure we understand the difference. You are never going to be an expert on a blockchain, right? There are going to be people who are expert on a blockchain. There are people who are going to be expert on IoT. But we are saying you are able to look at this from a business perspective. You have an understanding of IoT from a business. Similarly, you should be able to ask right kind of questions to a technology person, interpret those to a business people, but you're not technology expert.
So Kunal Rajput had applied in the first deadline and my application was not shortlisted due to experience being less than 36 months. Would I have to submit recommendation letters, essay and video again while applying next year? Yes, it becomes a fresh application next year, Kunal. Little disappointed to hear that you were not shortlisted, but the experience criterion is very stringent. It's 36 plus months, and even 35 months wouldn't qualify. It's that stringent. So we definitely look forward to your application once again next year with the refreshed data. Who will be the professors for teaching digital technologies? Are they experts from digital tech, or will they be from industry?
Right. So here we are looking at a partnership, primarily industry leading those. We are working actually right now with several organizations, and we are putting it, but a lot of this will be industry led. And so we are trying to combine a unique way where our faculty, along with the experts from industry are going to teach some of these courses.
Okay. Will the placements be combined with 2-year MBA and SCM 1-year MBA for DEM?
Honestly, I don't think we have answer to that question at this stage, right? I think I think there are few areas where they may be common, and there are areas they're going to be differences. So I mean, all we are saying is we are actually strengthening our entire placement office from this perspective. But it's too early to ask those to answer that specific question in terms of the way we are structuring our placement office. All we can tell you is, I think we're trying to strengthen our placement office so that we can respond to all the 3 programs, as well as we think it's important to, help, all groups to understand, so let me just step back and say, we look at this journey as a transformation journey. And in a transformation journey, somewhere individual, the way we help individual to understand, that what his or her passion are and what will be the right career, and prepare individual accordingly. So we want to do something interesting in this space, but let's see. I mean, a lot of these are interesting ideas which we hope to implement in the coming year.
Yeah, Aditya asked a question which I think is repeated in a different form. Since we are working with several organizations to provide a framework, will these companies also partake in the placement process? So Aditya, by and large, the answer is yes. The interest of the organization is to also see how the students shape up, and the good ones are the ones that they would want to take into their organizations. But let me be honest, there is no commitment or condition on the basis of which this arrangement is worked out. So industry is not participating in this program on the condition that IIM Udaipur says that you pick students from this particular batch. They are free to go to any of the institutes, and they are welcome to come to IIM Udaipur and use their discretion. So that's how this arrangement is. We believe the concept of the program and the method of teaching are strong within IIM Udaipur for industries to actually come in and start looking at a different set of candidates that the other MBA institutes will not be able to provide. Do we have, Kapil has another question, do you have any course to understand different digital ethics or privacy policies? Kapil, this is actually something that is under development. When I say development, both at the industry level and at the curriculum level, there have been very few discussions that have happened. Even in the context of certain technologies, for instance, use of AI comes with certain kinds of policies around it. There are certain policies which are global in nature, taking shape, which we are trying to see whether in some form we can discuss those in the classrooms. But we need to be honest that there isn't enough content, curriculum, and knowledge together to put a course around this at this point of time. So these will come through certain discussions and probably looking at current affairs and those kind of things to bring knowledge to the classroom.
So I think if I just add something here, as Shekhar mentioned, several areas we see are where we will get up, not necessarily as a part of a curriculum, but we get interesting speaker and generator discussion. And through that, so I think because it's a very new kind of program, there are few areas which are not going to be part of a regular curriculum, because as Shekhar mentioned, we are not confident that we have enough material and a course which we can offer in a traditional way. But we want to get a lot of speakers who will come and interact with the participants. But also let me just add one more thing. Being a pioneering batch, we also see actually pioneering batch also shaping this program, because because it being a new program, lot of initiatives are also going to come from the participants. So somewhere, some part of this is also going to be shaped by the way participants' interest, excitement, and we are saying we will make sure that depending on the interest, we will get the relevant speakers. And again, I go back to this issue, because this program is much more industry led. The industry is very excited about this program. We should be able to get the right kind of speakers who will come and participate in this program.
So there is a question relating to it, but in a very interesting perspective. Will there be industrial visits that we can get as a practical exposure of different technologies that are being used? I think this typically happens in the engineering colleges where they do industry visit.
So I think the way we are looking at it is a physical visit may not be the best possible way, because it just takes up too much time, right? But I think using technology today, it should be possible, the combination of speakers and technology, in a way that we give that experience to you, right? But we don't think the physical visits are probably the best way.
So there is one question which says, I have a low GMAT score of 470. Unfortunately, since the time was short for my preparation, do you think I will get outright rejected because of the low score? I am a 7-year experienced technology guy with varied work experience. So like we answered in the past, GMAT score is not used to look at an entry or an exit point. It's not a cutoff, but we have to look at it in the context of your overall profile and how rest of it contributes to the kind of knowledge that you can bring to the classroom and how the overall experience can be. So you're most welcome to apply. And for your own benefit, if you think you can do something better in future, we would request you to look at taking up your GMAT once again for your own satisfaction. Another question is, will there be some study materials for digital technologies, or it would mainly be lecture based? So there is a lot of study.
So we use a variety of pedagogy, right? And actually lecture based is a very small component. For example, we use a case method, we use a simulation, and sometimes for a certain part, we may ask you to do certain things on your own and do a certain discussion in a classroom. So at least I can tell you, lecture based is going to be in general very small part. Okay. Being a management school, we use a wide variety. But again, the way we look at this issue is, we try and get a best faculty for the course, and we give fair amount of freedom to faculty to use the appropriate pedagogy. For example, I'm going to teach operations management. Professor Rajesh Agarwal is going to teach, the financial accounting and managerial accounting. Now, each one of us is going to use the pedagogy which we think is a right. For example, in my case, I would use some cases, I would use some games, right? Now, same way Professor Rajesh Agarwal will decide what's the most appropriate pedagogy. So we don't start with saying, here is a pedagogy which everybody will have to use. We prefer to use what we think is probably the best, resource for the course. We obviously have an outline which will have to be vetted by a committee, the areas and respective. But within that, is this topic best to be, delivered using a case or a game or a role play or a lecture? That's a call is made by individual faculty. I don't know, Rajesh, do you want to add something here?
No, absolutely. The pedagogy comes second. The most important is the learning. So what pedagogy is the best suited so that the participants' learning happens the best. And that's how, as Professor Shah mentioned, relevant faculty, concerned faculty would choose a pedagogy. In fact, the same faculty can choose a variety of pedagogy within the same course. So I think that perhaps answers your question.
True. The last question we're taking for the day is, will I be eligible for a PhD program after taking this course? So this is in effect saying, is this a proper MBA, master's level?
So let me admit that relatively 1-year MBA is a new degree, right? So we would try and get an answer for this, but I would hesitate to answer this question because it's a new degree relatively. So I know in the past IIM's 1-year program, people have done the PhD, but not all institution. So what we'll do is we'll try and get you more information on this. I would hesitate to answer a specific, give any commitment right now.
So I would therefore put it as, since this has come as anonymous, I would request the person to write to us, and we could actually respond to him or her more appropriately, whether it's a yes, no, or maybe, how it pans out. So I think we have taken up all the questions. Thank you for all the participants for being there and asking these questions, which made things very interesting for us. Rajesh, anything from your end?
Yes. So in case we have accidentally not been able to answer your question, we think we have answered all. But in case we have missed out anything, we encourage you to send your questions through email to us, and we shall be very glad to answer any question that you may have. And with that, we would like to thank you for your participation and your interest in this program. And thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, best of luck.